Yeah, so welcome everybody to episode number 6 of the Hockey Toolkit. I am Trevor DiCarlo.
Andrew Trimble bringing the Christmas spirit with the holiday edition.
Yeah, that's what it is, except I got it listed as episode 5, but I only could count past 4, so.
Hey, man, I mean, that's the golden years of being being in the holiday spirit. When you're 4, 5, 6 years old, once you get to 7, 8, 9, my daughter's 10, and I don't know how she's hanging on to this Santa thing. I think she's pulling one over on us.
Well, hey, enjoy it while it lasts, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. Like my son's right in the thick of it. He's 7, and we're driving home from the rink. And he plays down in Exeter, so it's about an hour drive back to Guilford, New Hampshire. And he sees, we drive past, I'm not going to tell him, but we drive past Bedford, like the Bedford area, which has the Manchester airport there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's planes flying out all the time. And he's like, "There's red lights, Dad. You see it? Is that Santa?"
Is that Rudolph?
"Sure, buddy.
Yeah.
That's sure, buddy. He's checking you out. You better shut up in the back seat. Keep it quiet."
You better make sure you're on that good list, not the bad list.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
He's watching.
Yeah, I got no kids of my own that I know of, so I don't have to really worry about any of that right now. But, I mean, and all my cousins have now grown up. I mean, they're I think the youngest one's 16, so if he doesn't got it figured out now, we got more serious problems. But
yeah, you're going to have to sit him down with the big problem.
Yeah. Hey, bud. Real quick, I remember when we finally told my younger brother. So my youngest brother is, let's see here, about 6 years younger than me. And Colton's about 6 years younger than me. He had to have been about, around 10, 11. And I just remember we were just sitting there and like we were eating dinner one night. And again, it's like middle of May, so it makes no sense whatsoever. And we turn to him and we go, his name's Colton. Somehow comes up and we're like, "Colton, do you still believe in Santa?" Now, like, when people are asked that question so many, like, as a kid, so many times, like, you got to start thinking, like, okay, why wouldn't I believe in Santa? But he's just like, yeah, and my sister and I, she's a couple of years younger, we were laughing, like, our asses off. And he's like, "Why?" And we're like, "Dude, like, seriously?" And he's just like, "Wait. There's no Santa?" So we're laughing. And again, we feel bad, but we're like, okay, you're also like 10, 11 years old. Like, you should kind of like know at this point. And I don't know if that was like the look on his face was just all of a sudden like his whole childhood was crumbling. And then he looks at us and goes, "Oh, the Easter Bunny isn't real either." And we just lost it. We're like, dude, if that's what you were really worried about, like, yeah. And so then you got to go through the whole like, well, this is how it happened. Mom and Dad would go out and they would, wait till everybody was asleep and then they'd move all the stuff. But, so I don't have to deal with that anymore. But it sounds like you're coming up on that in the next year or so. And especially now, she's got to make sure she doesn't ruin it for her brother either, though.
Yeah, and she's pretty good big sister. So I think that she likes watching him enjoy the moment. It's all good. We got a couple good years coming up ahead of us.
That's good, though. What's going on in your world of hockey right now?
So we're on break right now. We got about a 2-week break before the kids come back, January 2nd and 3rd. Around that time when we start games that following weekend. So this is a good little pause in the schedule where kids can kind of go home. We kind of finished. We played some tough games on the weekend against the Worcester Railers, and we lost both games at both the EHL and the EHLP level. Worcester's a good program. They have good teams every year. They were really close games, but I think that we also had a little bit of I don't know what you put in there, but there's that kids are around the holidays. They start thinking about other things. I got a plane ride going here.
You said that in the last
see my
episode.
Girlfriend. Yeah. So they start getting pulled in different directions. And if you can really rein those kids in for that final weekend, which Worcester definitely did, and they compete just a little bit harder, they can win those games. And we didn't, for whatever reason, we just weren't all there. So, and I know it's going to be a topic of discussion a little bit later, but that burnout is a big factor at this time of the year.
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
How about yourself? What was your weekend like?
Well, a little bit of the same old same. We've gotten hit by a little bit of the injury bug. We got kids still sick. So it's hit or miss. The wins have not. They're not there. right now. It's been a couple weeks since we've had one, but the buy-in, we're starting to see improvement in a lot of the players, so that's obviously the most important part. Um, it's also just trying to make sure it's fun, but, as you said, the burnout factor, for me, even as a coach, I mean, I guess we're going to go right into it right here because I guess I'm making the segment now. But, the burnout factor, first off, I want to make sure that we let everybody know that I reached out on Twitter. If Twitter's still around when this episode comes out and Elon Musk hasn't blown it up, but Andrea Sanchez, who I've met in person, she's actually out here from the Chicagoland area. She reached out. I asked, hey, what does anybody want to talk about? And her question was, as a heavy travel schedule team can lead to burnout, are there any tips to recharge for both players and parents? So before we get to that question, as a coach, and you even just said it yourself, I'm personally like running into a burnout. Like I've just been, especially with this being one of my more challenging seasons. And again, I've gone through the whole synopsis of the team, just basically hodgepodge group thrown together. A lot of kids that didn't make previous teams, so my goal is obviously to get them up there. But it's a different. It's one of the more challenging teams I've had to work with, in the sense of the skill level. Usually when you're picking a team, the gap isn't so big. This year it's a little bit bigger, but it's also the fact that I've got kids coming from all over, so they don't know. I don't know what they were taught years past. I don't know, what concepts they were taught. What forechecks, this and that. So what it's like my stepbrother and I, he's my assistant coach, I remember it was back in September, team was picked. We had like one or two skates already, but we're like, okay, we mapped out the season. Like, this is what we want to accomplish each month. We get there, great. If we don't, obviously we have our roadmap of where we want to get to. I think after like the second week, we just took that and we crumpled it up and threw it away. And we're like, all right, we're going to have to take a couple more steps back. And I think that was important as a coach on my end, to evaluate that, because again, you don't want to teach kids something that it's not going to work. But back to the burnout, yeah, it's been challenging for everybody. And more or less it just comes down to, I want to make sure the kids are having a good time and they're getting better.
Yep.
So it's like, am I doing my job?
Well, if you're doing that, like if the kids are still showing up to practice, they're still giving a good effort in games, you're doing your job, especially at the youth level.
Right.
I know that, like, I've spoken to, when we do our schedule in UC May for the junior teams, I always put in a Thanksgiving break. I always put in a 2-week, at least, Christmas break. And some coaches will be like, hey man, let's play the day after Thanksgiving. Let's bring them back, and we're making them stay there. And although that might look good on paper, it might give you a break, another point in the year. Like, everybody needs that break. You need, there is a certain pecking order in your life that your family has to take a priority, and you have to have a detoxing period where you can just relax, recharge the battery, and then get back after it when the kids come back. And I generally find that, and we had a meeting with our EHLP team on Wednesday or Thursday going into this weekend. And they played hard on Sunday. They really did. They lost 3-2 to the top team in the league.
Yeah, that's great.
They played hard.
It's a good score.
Yeah. And we talked about, you made it this far, right? We're sitting here at at Christmas. We've done 150 hours of practice, whatever it may be. The kids are on the ice a ton. You've done 25 games so far. You've had some kids quit. You've had some kids stick it out. You have some kids battle through injuries. Like, you made it this far. That's an accomplishment in itself.
Absolutely.
Now let's recharge the battery, and we come back after Christmas. Let's hit the ground running, because that 2-month window of January, February before you hit the playoffs in March, it goes so fast.
Oh, yeah.
So, I generally find when kids come back in January, it's guns a-blazing. They're ready to go because they had that 2-week break. And if they don't have that 2-week break, they're not the same kid.
So that's, for me right now, you just using my own experience. And that, I mean, 3-2. That's awesome. We're using. I've never always, when I've coached in the past, and even when I played, like holidays were there, but most of the team was there and played. This year, basically, I've got kids that, because we're in 16U, different high schools, school districts, so finals. That's a huge thing that's come up. I've got, again, like I said, kids sick and kids injured, so I reached out to the families. Again, I'm sure they're burnt out too with just everything, because we just got back from St. Louis 2 weekends ago, and then we had off ice the next day, and then we had 2 practices within the next 3 days, and then we're back to playing, the next day. And so I just basically reached out to the families. We had enough. We just said, look, we can't make it because of finals. I get it. School comes first, this and that. And so we did. This week, I talked to my assistant coach and was just like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. What are your thoughts? And we decided that, yeah, we're just going to give the ice time back to the club, and we're going to take, the week off. Because, yeah, we would have had 5-6 kids, which is fine to work on maybe possibly skills or something of that nature. But honestly, let's just all back away, kind of recharge our batteries, as you said. And it's kind of it's an experiment for me, because I've never done this before. So I'm hoping, as you said, everybody comes back, ready. They get that urge. They're sitting there, listening to Grandpa tell his 10,000th story about the time that he, walked up the hill, and they're just sitting there like, oh, okay, I really wish I was on an ice rink. Like, that's what I'm hoping to get. But, yeah, so that's where we're at. But yeah, the burnout there, even as a coach, it's just like we're going over the same stuff over and over again. And, I'm trying to figure out, how can I make this work for other players? Like, for everybody, what am I not doing?
Well, one of the fun things that you can do is when they do come back, you can like really ignite some energy with some different
skating drills.
No, a couple years I did with, especially when I coached the EHL Premier team in like 2015-16. I had a couple, like we changed our off ice workouts when they got back and made it really competitive and fun. So like we had like a competition day. So like they came back January 3rd or whatever. So that first off ice workout, we made it like just 3 exercises: bench, deadlift, and squat. And the 3 guys who had the best one don't have to work out tomorrow because they came back in good shape.
Oh, nice.
And we had just like a bench press competition, like who puts the most on the bar and who can max out. And you just made it really fun.
Absolutely.
And then, or like, you come back and guys are expecting, oh, we're going to get back in our systems. We got to get refocused. Make your first practice like a 3-on-3 tournament.
Yeah.
Just like we got divide up teams. We're going to play cross ice. We're going to have, it's a 20-man team. So we're going to have 6 different teams. They're going to have come in different jerseys. You can assign those like a couple days prior so they can talk about it, and then make a bracket, play 3-on-3. And now they're like, oh, this is going to be fun. This is a little bit different, like, but they're going to be competing during that 3-on-3 because maybe there's there's a bonus for winning, or maybe there's a ramification for losing. So you can totally tweak that because you have a little bit of decompressing time to kind of brainstorm, and you can make it great. It could be awesome.
That's one of the big things I'm trying to do right now, is even just for, as you said, decompress for myself. Just, okay, what has worked, what's not working. Kind of it's instead of an end of the season, review or reflection, I'm getting that mid-season now. So I do, I'm constantly texting my stepbrother, besides the other BS that we talk about, but he's just like, hey, what do you think of this? What are we trying here? What's not working? And I agree. Like I think it's going to be an exercise where next year whatever team I'm going to be with, I'm going to be like, yeah, we want the full 2 weeks off during winter. We're not going to be around. We just need that whole decompression. So hoping that works. But, again, how else, for you yourself, how do you deal with, any of this type of burnout maybe at this point? Maybe right now you don't have it, but in seasons past, how have you dealt with it?
Well, first off, I got to ask you. So, like, when you address your stepbrother, is it like, "Hey, Nighthawk, this is Dragon"?
No. I can't reveal our names because if I do that, then they're gonna pick it up on like Scanner and we're screwed. No, it's it's.
You're like, "Hey, you like guacamole?"
Yeah. No. Usually, we just build room for activities. That's what our hotel room's for. We just try to make bunk beds and. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, no, it's funny because he was the better hockey player of the two of us, and he played AAA growing up. He actually played with Tommy Wingles, which is funny enough, and he would tell the stories about how, Tommy growing up was just an average. He traveled for all these AAA camps and teams and stuff, and he never made it. And then he, all of a sudden just kept working away, and all of a sudden here's a guy, he's seeing him as he's sitting at home, my stepbrother drinking a beer, watching Tommy Wingles on the TV. But that's a story probably for another time. But
I think some of that. So, and some of that, the double A and the triple A, that could be a discussion for another day. But in some of that, it's an attrition thing. So, like, you have the kids who do the triple A the whole lives, right? From the time they're mites all the way up to the time they're midgets.
I am writing this down too.
and so let's say there's 20 kids who start on that mite team, which there's never 20 kids on a mite team, but
you'd be surprised. It's up here in Chicago. They're out here in Chicago. Yeah, there's. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
But by the time they get to midget, there's only maybe 6 or 7 of them that started because some of the kids quit. They want to focus on other sports. There's an attrition thing, and the double A players who were all fun growing up, and like they had the breaks because they didn't play the summer hockey, they played other sports. Those kids start to get better and better and better because they're like finding a passion and a love for the game.
Right.
And you find it so often that oftentimes the kids that played AAA growing up, by the time they get to college or just before college, junior, they're just like, I'm done with hockey, or they're like, they've settled into a role their whole life. So they're like, well, now I'm the guy who chips the puck off the glass and I can play a fourth line role because they've been behind other kids their whole life at an elite level. Whereas the double A kid, maybe they were totally creative in that space and they could dominate games. So they've always been a top 6 player. So now they emerge into that higher level and they're used to dominating. So they have this confidence.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a different beast.
It is.
And you gotta, I'd say every kid is different. I'd say every kid, you have to like recognize your kid. And if your kid doesn't want to go to the rink and he's 6, 7, 8 years old, don't take him to the rink. Don't make that mistake. Just let him have the night off. Watch videos on YouTube, whatever.
Right.
Whatever you're going to do, because it's not worth it in the long run.
Kid, yeah. No, I agree. But, okay, yeah, that is, and again, I don't want to be the one throwing out all of these stories here. I've already get enough DMs about me talking too much on here. So,
get out of here.
No, I'm just kidding. Nobody DMs me anyways. So again, back to the burnouts. What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? Like, what are those, especially again, being at the junior level, you've had to have gone through a lot of your own, trial and errors. I'm assuming, but what do you got?
I think building in those breaks in the schedule makes a big difference. Getting them out of the rink and away from the rink makes a huge benefit for when they come back to the rink. And yeah, maybe they're out of shape a little bit when they come back in January because you have an extended break. But like if they still are, if they're passionate to play, that doesn't matter at all. So I think building in those breaks is important. I think getting to know every kid on the team is really important. So like if you have open dialogue and communication with the team, you can gauge your team. If you don't have those conversations and you're not communicating with your team, then you have no idea where they're at in terms of their mental fatigue.
Yeah.
And then making it fun when they come back. Fun but competitive. You can combine the both. That's like that perfect antidote for like getting to the next level. Is things that are fun where they're excited to do, but they're also competitive and they have to work for it. And I think if you can create things that incentivize athletes, that's kind of like makes it work, and
definitely.
I found that doing like things like when they come back in January, things that they can look forward to on the calendar. That like we have a bunch of benefit games that get good crowds in January, and they can start to think about the big picture. Mm-hmm. Those make a big difference. And we have college commitments coming up, so kids are still earning that stuff. Like we're not like pushing kids into colleges, like pigeonholing them in September and October. They still got big things to play for here coming down the stretch. So there's a lot of ways to do it. What are your thoughts, Trevor?
Again, I mean, this is kind of the first season where, it's felt like, for me, burnout. But even for the kids, I mean, we're not on the ice as much as at the junior level, but we, again, I like everything you said. I mean, the first practice, they even listen A, but B, if this drops, it'll drop way before then. But yeah, we'll do something like that. We'll make it just like kind of like a games type of small area games. Obviously, I got enough time to plan on with a purpose what those games are going to be, so it'll be hiding in those things that we really need to work on. But no, I mean, again, growing up for me as a player, I just, ate, slept, drank, hockey. That was all I did, So I guess I was a different breed of person, so I would really never got that burnout feeling. But again, is for us, it's again, this is the first season that we've like said, all right, we're just taking the holiday, and even though it's 1 week, it's 1 week, and for me that's like sacrilege. Like what are you doing? It's like almost like if I was real. It was like almost like missing church, it feels like. But it is nice, though, to be able to, like, all right, come home and decompress. I don't have to, like, after a day of work. So, I guess just a little bit different situation. But, honestly, I think the best way I'll be able to tell you is how it goes in the next episode, how it really, how this trial and error works. And, but, again, we don't have these because as soon as we get back, we're right back into games that following weekend, and then we're out of town. We're in a tournament. Realistically, I think my team, we only have like 10 to 15 games left in the season, which doesn't seem like a whole lot. So it's more or less just keeping it upbeat right now. That's our goal, is just to keep it upbeat. I did set up during this break. I've got players reaching out. My assistant and I, we're going to do Zoom player evaluation, so him and I will be on a Zoom call with the player because you gotta make sure with that safe sports stuff, and we gotta just make sure, they just asked like, hey, can we, I've had them reach out, which is good, which is great, so I can kind of critique in a positive way, like, hey, this is what you're doing really well, here's areas that we want to improve on for the rest of the season, and hey, like, this is what we're gonna do as coaches, like, but this is also what you can do away from the rink.
That's great.
So that's basically where we're at. Our mindset is. But, I guess to really hit on Andrea's question, and I'll throw it to you. So she is a parent of I believe she's playing AAA this year, daughter, parent of a AAA hockey daughter who is, so they got a heavy travel schedule can lead to burnout. For them, do you have any tips to recharge for both the players and the parents?
I got one. Now I just brainstormed here. I got two good ones here. Hopefully I'll remember the second one after I get done with the first one. So
all right.
I'm not
saying anything. So I don't know.
The first one. We're in the holiday season. I think it's like crazy. If you're a coach and you're coaching your team, I'm just an assistant coach this year. Next year I'll be a coach again, head coach. But you gotta have a holiday party. Yeah. You gotta have a Christmas party for your kids.
Absolutely.
Right? You're at that time of the year. The kids get to do Secret Santa or like what's the other game? Secret Santa is usually the best in a team because like you can kind of pick out your kid, your guy, and like you can conspire with other guys and or girls and pick out like a pretty all sorts of gifts.
Oh, yeah.
As a kid. I've seen all sorts of things that I won't mention on the podcast that parents will probably be upset about. I've had T-shirts. Ari Swift gave me a T-shirt last year that, if any other coach, most coaches would be offended. I thought it was hilarious. But that makes it like fun. And then the kids realize this is a good group of guys. Like, this is a good group of girls. And I want to be part of this team. So then they take a break. And then it's like, you get that nostalgic feeling of like, it's like when you break up with the girlfriend, it's like, oh, I want to get her back now, So they get a 2-week break, and then you come back in January, and you're excited to see those guys.
You got that boom box over your head, and you're sitting outside the window.
That's right. That's right. You're like, she's the one. I forgot the other one.
I totally forgot the other one. Totally tried not to distract you.
But that's one thing, like doing a holiday party or doing some stuff off the ice that realizes that you're all a team and you're in it together. And it's not just about the hockey, but it's about the group. That makes a big difference in terms of avoiding burnout. Because if you're just there for hockey and the hockey gets less fun, then you're going to get burned out.
Right.
So doing other stuff off the ice can make it more impactful as a team.
I think it really comes down to, on the player side, I mean, it comes down to the player. Now, I know Andrea and her daughter, and they're very heavily involved in hockey. But just for anyone in general, if your kid's sitting there and it's like, again, holiday time, and they want to go see, like, oh, cousins are in town, like, oh, but you got practice. Well, like, okay, who cares? Like, just go and be a kid,
Definitely.
And again, as parents, I think as coaches, we have to, like, respect that. I mean, you should. There's no reason, especially at those younger ages. You should be respecting that. Like, okay, so you're going to be down one player, or you might be down 3 or 4. Fine. Make it fun for everybody else, if you have to use the ice. So I would just say, like, let him be a kid. Don't, because in the long run, is missing a week of hockey going in the middle of the season during the holidays, is that really going to make or break a player's career? No, absolutely not. So from that standpoint, I think just let the kid be a kid. I know out here we've got rinks that do 3-on-3 tournaments during the holidays. And again, if they want to do it, great, go for it. But as a parent, if you're like, you know what, I need a break, let's find something else for you to do. Again, go for it. Like, just find something then, divert them to something else. For parents as a burnout, like I said before, I don't have any kids that I know of, so I can't really give too much in that. But outside of just, it's the nostalgia, I guess, of just me thinking from my parents' end of how much they really enjoyed watching, like, me play, like, and watching, and they know, drive me to practice. Okay, so maybe they didn't like some of the stuff I did in games, but, like, just taking me to practice and stuff like that, it's, just, try and look at it like it feels like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just kind of like a small clip. But also, again, you're the parent, like, as a parent, you should be able to say, you know what, we're going to be home for the holidays. We're going to take a week off and we're going to go do this or that, or, we're just going to spend time together. Because definitely as a parent, I do know, just hearing from the parents that I talk to, and this isn't in a negative way, but they're just saying, like, oh yeah, just we're running here, we're running there. Like, take a break. Like, don't, because a burnout is you just said, before, that's the last thing we want for anybody. And then
absolutely. And if you look at that movie, King Richard, that was
don't even get me started on that movie.
But like there was a lot of good points with he did everything he could to avoid his kids getting overexposed and burnt out. There's a lot of good merits in terms of that. But one thing I was going to say.
Oh, there we go. I'm not saying anything. No distractions.
Why do kids get burnt out? Because it feels like the same thing over and over.
Right.
Well, if you're the coach and you're getting that information, then make it completely different. Like when they come back for practice, like things we talked about with the 3-on-3 or the weightlifting challenges, or making a practice that's completely different, or bringing in a guest coach. That's great. Last year we did it with my 16s team. We did a ton of Zoom calls with all sorts of people, guys from NHL coaches to college coaches to players. And that was really great for, like, it gives them something more to go to the rink for. And even one year, I don't even know what platform it's on. I wasn't that tech savvy at the time, but remember the mannequin challenge?
Oh yes, I do. Yep.
The kids were like, one year they were like, Coach, we got to do the mannequin challenge. And I was like, I don't know what the mannequin challenge is. But They were like, Coach, come on, we got. It went on for like two days. It didn't go that long. I was like, yeah, let's do the fucking mannequin challenge. It's gonna be awesome. And I got all excited about it. And I think we had like 100,000 views or something from somebody showed me. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
And I got the Zamboni driver. I was like, you're going to come out. You're going to stop. You're going to run over a kid. So, just mix it up. You got to mix it up, because otherwise, if you don't mix it up, that's how you get burnt out, is like when it's the same thing.
Right.
Over and over.
No.
That's why people were married for 20 years and debating their spouses.
Right. No, yes. Well, I mean, Andrea, I hope we've been able to answer somewhat of your question there. Again, Andrew would be much better at answering the whole parent dilemma than I am, but like I said, it's I think it's just more or less when you recognize that as a parent or even as an athlete or as a coach, like that it's time to pump the brakes for a second and try and figure out what's going on, what's too much for us, what can we, when and how can we take back a little bit of our own time and lessen that burnout, and then, go from there. And I think that's probably the best bet, but I don't
Absolutely.
know. Or just do the mannequin challenge. The plank challenge, I mean, whatever challenge, but
All right, so Trevor, I got a big question for you.
I knew you would. All right, what do you got?
Okay. Holiday edition episode. What is the greatest hockey-related gift you've ever gotten for Christmas?
Oh, God. I mean, I would have to say it was the original Bauer Vapor stick. The original. The very first one. That was my very first composite stick that I ever got. It was always wood sticks, and for a while, after I broke it, it was back to the wood sticks. But that was by far the best holiday Christmas gift I ever received. It was so great, and I wanted to keep it for so long that I busted the toe of the stick. It chipped off, and I would end up taking tape and makeshifting a toe in there and then taping over it so that there was at least something there so it didn't look like a dagger or something pointing out at somebody. And I got it to last almost the entire season. So that was by far my favorite. How about yourself?
Well, I remember one year I needed a new pair of gloves. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. And obviously in 1988, 89, Gretzky was the man, And he had these Jofa. Remember the Jofa gloves?
Oh,
They're like
long
leather.
ones? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I got those from my grandfather for Christmas. On Christmas Eve, he brought, what are size 12 or 13 Jofa, black and white.
Ooh.
So they were like LA Kings colors.
All right.
Big deal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, for sure. And I had those for a number of years, and they were pretty awesome.
Oh, those were fantastic. I mean, they had to have almost gone up to your elbow with that long cuff that they had on them.
It might as well have been shoulder pads.
No.
That's what, we have Sty Hockey ratings. You ever see that thing on Instagram? So all our kids like Sty Hockey ratings. Okay. Oh, you got to check it out. They all like send a picture of themselves and they get rated out of 1 to 10. But like, if you were to send in, and the guy likes, good tape job using clear tape there. That's good. You got a lace where you're for your pants. You got a bubble. That's good. You get a 1 point for that. If somebody put a picture of Gretzky up there, his Sty Hockey rating would be like -10. But when he was a peewee, he scored like 370 goals.
Yes.
So like,
yeah,
ratings. His style was pretty good to me.
Doing something right, yeah. I think everybody was too focused on their. Well, hell, I don't even know if he wore a helmet back then. If he did, it was like made out of probably what this Pepsi bottle or can over here is made out of. But
paper mache.
What I guess we'll. Well, this isn't a hockey question, so we'll divert a little bit. But what is your favorite Christmas movie?
Christmas movie? That's a tough one. So I'd probably Chicago related. I'd probably go Christmas Vacation. That's the one I've seen the most.
Okay, yeah.
But Home Alone's a Chicago movie too.
It is, yes. Everybody thinks that Mr. McAllister was a drug lord, or a accountant for some type of drug lord, because how the hell can that guy afford that big of a house with that many kids in Chicago? But all right,
yeah, those are probably definitely my top two for sure.
Okay,
how about yourself?
I'm gonna go away from the typical Die Hard. Everybody's like, oh, it's a Christmas movie, so I won't go into that one. Favorite Christmas movie would have to be, again, you said, Christmas Vacation is a classic. So I would put that up there, but for the sake of also being a little diverse here, we would go with, good one. Oh, God, what was that movie with, where the dad comes back? It's with Michael Keaton, where he comes back as the snowman. And it's a kid movie. I was young when I saw it. God, all right. Well, good thing I'm on my computer. Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
Snowman movie. he comes back, Jack Frost. And it's
I've
where
actually never seen that.
it came out in '98. Well, you probably would have been in college at that point. You wouldn't no interest in that one. But yeah,
You're dating me now.
yeah. Sorry. Well, when you said '98, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. No, I didn't. But I mean, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, '98, where he comes back as he's a musician. He is unfortunately passes away in a car accident, only to be brought back to life by in the form of a snowman via a magical harmonica that was his by his son.
I gotta. That's on the Christmas to-do list this year.
It's what,
check that out.
I enjoyed it as a 9-year-old. It was live action, so of course you got to like it. Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb did not like it that much, but I liked it just because of the sentimental value of it all. But yeah, Christmas Vacation. I mean, that's always a good. You can't go wrong there. Go ahead.
Next question for you. You can find one thing in your Christmas stocking. You're a hockey player. You need something in your Christmas stocking. What is the essential piece you can find in your Christmas stocking? What makes your Christmas in that stocking?
For me, it would have to be black tape. That would have to be for my stick because you know what? It's tough though because black tape. I always use black tape because I remember reading. Oh yeah, it's it might help hide the puck a little bit from the goalie. So I was just like, whatever. I just love the black tape. Actually, I was the kind of guy who would candy cane his stick up because before we actually had the stick like sticky grips. But all right, what is Santa bringing you in your stocking that makes you extremely happy?
Well, I always so I'm now I just coach. I don't play men's league or anything like that. So I sharpen my skates probably once a year.
I know that feeling.
And
yep.
and I always tend to. I have several stones that are around the office at the Merrill Fay Ice Arena. They're around the office. I lose them constantly. So a new stone just to give me a little bit of edge out there. That's all I need. Just a little bit.
Well, you ever use what is it, the Swede stick?
No.
I've never used that. So it's kind of looks like a wishbone like top, real tight. Obviously on the inside, I think it's kind of got like what would be a stone like type abrasive, and you just run it down your skates like 2-3 times tops for just to try and get like a quick edge. And that was kind of what everybody would go to before they could find a stone. They'd be like, hey, has anybody got a sweet stick? And I'm like, no. All right, see anybody got a stone? Oh yeah, I got a ton of those. Yeah, so
yeah, I've seen those. I've just never actually used one.
Oh yeah, it's at that point, I mean, you just go and get them sharpened. you become an adult. Or when I was in high school, it was just like, oh, mom, dad, I need these sharpened. But you never know who's working the machine at that time. Now they got these Spark machines that you can buy for yourself, and it saves you all this money allegedly. But all right,
all right. Next question. Next question for you.
What do you
ready
got?
For this one?
Yep.
Okay. Favorite holiday season Christmas memory, tournament, game.
Okay.
What do you got?
All right, so we are gonna go with. Let's see here. Wow, man, I had no time to prep for this either. Holiday. We're just talking Christmas, so let's see here. Christmas holiday tournament. Back when I was a Bantam. So like, I'll use two here. One for sure was on Christmas. The other one was around the same time. The first one was my sophomore year. I got called up to play on the varsity team, which in itself was a big deal because I was the only freshman on the team. There's another freshman, but sophomore. We were the two youngest players on the team. Got called up, and we played in the Blackhawks holiday tournament, which they basically played like 2 20-minute halves, which was silly on its own. But I just remember getting up like literally the next day, the 26th, and the game was at like 8 a.m. and it was the Ho 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 tournament, I think it was. It was just surreal because like I got called up and I actually got to play. And it was just with the whole Blackhawks. They had they had a silent auction there. And at the time, this is when Tuomo Ruutu had just finally signed to play for the Hawks, and I was a big fan of his. And I had bid like I don't know, like 10, what was my money? It was like $10 though for like an autograph of his. So then like there was like a picture, and then like it went up again. So I think we got to like 30, and then my mom and my grandmother drove me back out to the Edge Ice Arena that same weekend to see right during the closing. And wouldn't you know it, Troy Murray's sitting right there, and nobody else is around, right? So my mom goes up, and my mom was a huge Troy Murray fan, I'm told. She is, though, because I saw what happened next. She went over and asked Troy Murray if she can get a hug from him after they talked for like 15 minutes. She's like, oh, certainly. And she's like, you're my favorite player, and this and that. And I'm just sitting there like, did I win the damn picture or not, so I can get out of here? This is so embarrassing. Thank God it was just myself, my mom, my grandmother, nobody else, and Troy Murray. But so yeah, that would be one of my favorites there. And then the other one was, we as a Bantam, we right around Christmas we had the opportunity out here in Chicago. We have the Winter Club, which hosts. They just do outdoor. They had outdoor tournaments. They play in like games and stuff as well, but just basically wait till the winter. We played out there in their tournament, and I remember it was so damn cold out, but it was just so cool because that was the first time I played a legit game outdoors. Because again, growing up, I played roller hockey most of the time, or played roller up until about Pee-wees. So that was the first time, and I just remember I had a breakaway, and again using my wood stick here. And it was so damn windy out that I couldn't even go like full. I was past the center line, got to the blue line, and the wind was just blowing my stick so much that I had to do basically your Gretzky curl there along the wall, just because I was like, I'm not going to get there the full way. I need to wait for a teammate to get here so I can move him the puck. So those are, I know it was a one-off, but those are two of my favorite. How about yourself?
That's pretty cool. I must disclose some Chicago story.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, we had a lot of my grandpa working for the Devils. He got us a lot of tickets as a kid. So we were really lucky that we were able to go to a lot of Devils games. And back in like 83, 87, until the 90s, they weren't very good. So it wasn't like they were a hot commodity to get tickets.
Right.
But I remember seeing we had sections in seats in section 215.
Okay.
Which is the upper deck at the Meadowlands Ice Arena. And we'd always sneak down because, by the third period, the Devils were getting toasted. So, and I remember seeing Murray Bannerman's mask.
No kidding.
And I was like 5 and 6 years old, and I remember driving home in the car, and that vision of his mask was in my head. And I had nightmares that night. And I told my mom, that goalie for the Blackhawks, Mom, I was terrified of Murray Bannerman's mask.
Bannerman.
So folks at home, if you can Google Murray Bannerman and his mask,
oh yeah,
and realize, there was a 6-year-old Andrew Trimble at home in Manasquan, New Jersey, who probably pissed his pants.
just trembling under under covers. The nightlight goes out, and then boom, there's Bannerman's mask,
just staring you down.
That's awesome. But all right, so Christmas though, what do you got? Or
so now,
holidays, sorry.
I'm kind of removed from playing, and I'm kind of, we've always taken a break. I've coached junior NFL almost 10 years, and we've taken a break always at Christmas. So it's tough to remember a great Christmas or New Year's game. But we've had a backyard rink now for this is going on our 4th year. And the tradition in our house is always to have it ready for Christmas Eve. We always have a Christmas Eve skate. If that doesn't work out perfect where we can skate on too long, we always go to the Merrill Fair Ice Arena. I sneak in and make the rink manager mad because he has to Zamboni the ice in the morning. But that's been my most memorable Christmas memory over the last couple of years, is that we get that backyard rink, which I can never have as a kid in New Jersey. We get to have that in New Hampshire. And it's just awesome to have that backyard rink. No, and I think that's a good segue.
Yeah, you nailed it. I wasn't going to even say that it was a segue, but definitely.
Into our 5 myths.
Well, before I do that, I think that's awesome that you do that, especially because, that's something that you and your son can do, and the bonding, and he's going to remember that forever. As long as he doesn't get hurt or see Murray Bannerman's mask, I think he's going to have positive just memories with you guys doing that.
He's kind of I'm going to be honest with you, he's a little bit of a chicken shit. So if you saw Murray, we're listening to we're listening to Classic Rewind on Sirius XM. No big shout out there, but we're listening to that, and Pink Floyd's their Animals album,
Oh,
and Pigs came on, and it's just all like weird guitar and stuff.
Right.
And he was like, Dad, can you change the channel?
Well, don't play
Just
that. Then.
Absolutely terrified.
Yeah, don't play that
This is
tomorrow
really
on the
scary.
speakers. Or the
So if
speaker.
I showed him Murray Bannerman, he's not making it tonight.
Oh no. But yes, all right. So 5 myths.
What do you got for first one, Trevor?
Well, I thought this was yours. I thought we were going with you first.
Okay, I'll go first. Number 1 myth is that you have to do drills on the backyard rink.
What?
I see a lot of Instagram, people and Twitter showing their elaborate setups on their backyard rinks. I think the backyard rinks are just a great place to learn the game. If you're playing cross ice, if you're playing tag up, if you're playing one-on-one, just go out there and play shinny. That's the best place in the world to play the world's longest uninterrupted, nonstop game. Don't worry about getting all these things you get for Christmas like cones or these other things you can get up. Just go out there and play. That's the best thing for the backyard rink.
No, I agree. And I think with mine, I'm going to segue mine into this, is that any type of backyard rink, as long as it's frozen and not a pool, is great. Like, the myth of, I got to have the perfect backyard rink. No, you don't. If you have a sheet of ice that is at least you can do like, a circle around, a decent circle, like, and you can move around in it, that's better than probably what half the hockey, if not, let me rephrase that. It's better than what 90% of the hockey playing community gets, because I didn't have an outdoor rink growing up, and we would always go to the one that was in the community, like community center, like in the parking lot area over there. But and again, there's just like so many guys, and you'd be sitting there like, oh man, I just wish I had like even just a quarter of a zone just to kind of move around in and just work on my shot or whatever. But everybody's like, oh, well, we don't have lights on ours. Like, okay, well, it's pretty sunny out for, half the day. Like, go out and use it. So I agree. Yeah. You don't need just go out and play. Have fun. That's what it's for.
Absolutely. All right. Number 2, what do you got?
No, I just gave it to you. Number 2.
Okay. I like it. All right. Number 3, it isn't worth it for only a few weeks ice. I disagree entirely. Back in 93, 92, I bought an online kit. Actually, it wasn't online. What am I talking about? There wasn't even the internet in 1992. I think it was on the back of like a Hockey Digest magazine that could mail order or something.
Yeah.
And I
remember those.
I saved up my money. I was working at the Ocean Ice Palace in Bricktown, New Jersey, and I scraped together $200 and bought a rink kit in the backyard. And I probably only got to skate on that thing 2 or 3 times, but that was the best. It was just the best. So even if you only get for a little bit of the year, and you can find the space in your backyard, do it, because you'll make a memory that can last forever.
Absolutely. No, and again, yeah, as you said, it's even if it's just a few times, which will now segue into number 4, which is it's a lot of work. Is it really worth it? And the answer is yes, because again, it's not only is it just the fun in that moment, but again, it's the memories. I mean, here you are able to remember the exact year, the exact place that you found this probably company that's completely out of business. Maybe didn't even make it that whole winter. They just made it barely, but it's those memories you make. And again, now, I mean, I see the videos and stuff online and just how souped up these people are. I mean, there's like neighbors that share their backyards just to have that out rink, so they can have like an NHL sized rink. But it is worth, if you've got it and you can do it. Like again, you've got the time, you have the money, do it. Just for your kids, for yourself, whether you're a rec player, whether you're an athlete, high school kid. Like I wish, because we had a decent plot of land in the backyard. I wish I would have actually gone back and cleaned out like all the brush and stuff. There was like a wooded area, because like looking back, I'm like, I remember reading an article about the Stahl brothers, how they would all go out and play on their, they build it and then they all go out and play, and like how they beat the crap out of Jared because he was the youngest and this and that. And I was just like, was like, I had this here, and now like looking back, I'm like, I had that there. Like all I had to do was put in the work and maybe like done a little bit of research on how to correctly do this and that. But I had all the tools. Like I had the ability to make some boards, even if that. So again, I guess my point is like, yeah, is it worth it to put in all that time? Is it really worth it? Maybe not. No, it is. Like, do it. And again, if you don't like it, then after the first year, then screw it. At least you could say you did it. But I truly believe, I think it brings a lot, especially for the kids most of all. I mean, I know adults, we love it too, but because we can hide our beers inside the snow. But but for the kids, definitely, like that stuff. Again, we don't take it for granted. Some of us do. Like, not granted, but we don't realize how much this all really means to the kids in, like, the long run. What are they going to remember the most? And it kind of goes back to that whole burnout question. Like, are they going to really remember playing in that 3-on-3 tournament on that one Christmas when they're, 40 years old, when they're in their 30s? Are they going to remember, like, playing outside, playing shinny with their parents, mom or dad who can't even skate's going out there trying their best, and juniors dangling them and breaking their ankles, stuff like that. Like, that's what you're going to remember. Like, that's what it's about. So, I know I messed up here. I was supposed to have the 3 of them. So, if you've got one, all good. But
I got number 5 waiting here for you.
All right, you bail me out again.
So, number 5 would be It's Just About the Kids. And
there you go. You're welcome.
Being a 42-year-old adult, I'm about to be 43 in like a week and a half.
Oh man, we'll have to do a birthday edition.
And I just this time of the year, like I'm just chomping at the bit to figure out, how much space I have, what materials I can use, how much I can, fit in the backyard when I can start making ice, and then how much I can do at night. And I mean, sometimes I'm up at 10, 11 o'clock at night, just pouring water on that rink because there is a tranquility that comes across when you're like in the backyard rink and you got the moonlight. We have a string of lights that kind of just illuminate the rink a little bit, and just making ice is so like it's
therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. It's zen-like. I don't know what
Zen's
other
better,
words for it, but it's just like it's my winter therapist.
There you go. And it's cheap. Well, it's cheaper.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it costs only about one therapy session, but it makes my whole winter work for me for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I mean,
I couldn't imagine a winter without it now.
Oh,
at this point.
I envy you. I wish I had that plot of land to. I will one day once we're done. Once the big guys start paying us here for this show, like Bauer and stuff. But yeah, no, I agree. It's not always just for the kids. I mean, I know guys at men's league that are still playing rec league that, okay, all the guys are going to come over and we're just going to skate around and, barbecue, like cook stuff out with their, whatever gas powered, grills and just drink their Labatts. I mean, there's a reason why the Labatt tournament up in, it's Minnesota, right? If I'm correct, yep. There's a reason why there's so many people that go up there. I mean, it's pond hockey. It's one of the greatest. Charlie Conway. I mean, if Charlie Conway can learn the triple deke on that, then or it wasn't Charlie Conway. It was Coach Bombay.
Gordo.
Yeah, Gordo. I know. See, that's why I don't try to work on talking less. For those people that DM me, I know I'm working on it. But yeah, no, for sure. That's a good number 5, and that's a good save on me. So I'll make sure next time I got the 3, if not 4 of them. But
I think it's a good place to wrap it up. And
yeah,
it was an awesome. I wish everybody at home, and Trevor, obviously, happy holidays, man.
You as well.
Enjoy your time with your family, and enjoy this little break in your schedule, because I know that once you come back, it's full on board to the playoffs.
Yeah, for both of us. So yeah, it's for all those listening, happy holidays for whatever you celebrate. And thanks for listening to episode number 5, the holiday edition. And we look forward to hearing back from you and posting some more content in the new year.